talk about anxiety and talk about stress. That was a very, very close game. Much closer than I'm pretty sure 99.999% of Bucs fans could have anticipated, but we did squeak out a 25-23 win over the New York Giants in probably, arguably our worst game of the season. But before I get into it, if you are new here, make sure you click the subscribe button down below. My name is Ramy B, and I post weekly Buccaneer reaction videos. If you see me looking over to my side, I got some stats up so I can be accurate. And I know I'm still rocking the old jerseys. My Brady one. I will have my Brady jersey in about 2 weeks, so by the Carolina game in week 10, I will have the Brady jersey. So you'll see me in the new current style of the jersey. But let's get right into it. This was our worst performance of the season. The Bears game, they had a top defense, so that makes sense. The Saints game, first week of the season, no real offseason or preseason, makes sense. This one, though, a team that's far more inferior than us, there's no reason or way that it should have gone down to the wire like it did, but in typical Buccaneer fashion, we did downplay our opponent and did not expect, I guess, them to play as well as they did. And I'm pretty sure most of the team was looking ahead to next week with the showdown against the Saints for the division. But we are 6-2 right now. I read that this is the third time in franchise history that we're 6-2. The first time was in 1979 when we reached the NFC Championship game, and then in 2002 when we won the Super Bowl. So if history repeats itself, we will be in at least the NFC Championship game, but hopefully the Super Bowl and win it as well. So that's really cool as well for us. But let me get into the stats. Brady was 28 of 40 for 279 and 2 touchdowns. Brady wasn't sharp in the first half. He missed a lot of throws, wide open throws, overthrew some players. He just didn't look like himself. I don't know if the defense of the Giants was doing something that was kind of making him making him confused. There were some plays that the analysts mentioned where like the linebacker like dropped out into double coverage and weird things like that. So maybe that's what played a role. But in the second half, he did play a lot sharper and a lot better, and really turned it around. And especially in the end, in the fourth quarter, when we needed to get down and score to take the lead, and then kick that field goal to make it an 8-point game, Brady was like 5 for 5, I think, for like 70-something yards in that final drive that we had. So overall great performance from him. He should be now at 20 touchdowns and 4 picks on the season. I think he's still second place in the NFL in touchdowns, so that's good, still in the MVP race. Leonard Fournette, 15 carries, 52 yards for 3.5 yards per carry, and then Rojo, 7 for 23 with 3.3 yards per carry, and he lost a fumble. So when Rojo had that fumble on that catch, I did say that Arians was probably going to put him in the doghouse. He did bring him back a little bit, but Rojo is a liability in the pass game. And when he's in the game as a running back, teams know that he's probably not going to pass catch at all or as much. And if he does, he's going to drop it. So I think it's a liability in there that makes us a little easier to defend. And I think Fournette, for some reason this game, he didn't look like his typical self. He was tiptoeing behind the line. I'm used to him like running full head of steam. There was a 3rd and 2 that we tried getting, and he couldn't get it because of that same reason. He was like tiptoeing. He was kind of like LeGarrette Blount back in the day when they said he couldn't get short yardage. I don't know what's up with him, but when he did kind of just take the ball, find the hole, and just explode through it, he was getting some carries, but he seems to be like hesitant behind the line. So I don't know what's up with that. It looks like Rojo is so far still this season our better rusher, but the fumbles and the turnovers and the dropped catches, the drop passes are going to keep him on the bench, and unfortunately that's what happened. And luckily we didn't need him for that, but we didn't need him to run the ball as much. We were able to squeak out a win by passing. As for receiving, Evans finally started getting the ball. 5 catches, 55 yards, and a touchdown with that beautiful game leading touchdown where Brady threw that fade route perfectly. I know Evans said after the game that he doesn't get much one-on-one coverage, but he did in that situation. Brady threw a perfect ball. Seemed to be overthrown a little bit. If you watch the replay, Evans had to kind of hustle and dive for it. But great hustle on his end, great concentration, catch, and awareness to make sure his body landed inside in the actual end zone and not out of bounds to get that. Gronk, 4 for 41 in that touchdown. Beautiful touchdown catch that was tipped at the line. I tried watching the replay a couple of times to see where Brady was throwing it. It looked like, I saw the side angle, so I couldn't see what Brady was seeing from his angle, but it looked like the ball was going to be a little bit lower and maybe behind Gronk a little bit, because the ball got tipped. It was kind of like a hard pass. It was like a bullet. It got tipped and bounced up, but it still led Gronk to where he needed to go. So I'm assuming the pass was going to be a little bit behind him because of the velocity or the speed or whatever. But great awareness by him to catch that. And thank God they didn't consider it a fumble when the ball got slapped out of his hand. He did take 3 steps, maybe 4 steps on that drop, or like after he caught it. So I'm glad the refs reviewed it and realized that it was a touchdown, because it was kind of iffy on like the quick replay, you know what I'm saying? Mickens 5 for 36. Not sure why he was targeted so much, but I know with Godwin out, they needed someone to step in, and Mickens did come up on a couple third down and I think a fourth down as well. Some really strong conversions. Brait 2 for 35, and Scotty Miller 3 for 35. Tyler Johnson at 2 for 35, but the reason I put him on there was because that, I think it was 2nd and 19 or 3rd and 19 where he caught that ball and absolutely got leveled by Logan Ryan. Somehow kept the ball and got right up, and Logan Ryan seems to have been like shook a little bit. So it was like, he's a little guy, Tyler Johnson, but he got some strength to him and some, some heart. He took that hit like it was nothing and bounced right back up. So great there. The Giants secondary was playing surprisingly well. I did read on Twitter someone say that because the stadium didn't have fans, defenders were yelling ball, ball, ball when the ball was in the air, so that's why they were getting a lot of pass defenses without actually turning their heads and looking at where the ball was coming from. Like a lot of them were just hitting their elbows and like the back of their arms and stuff, so we didn't have opportunities for deep balls, and it seems like when we do have opportunities for deep balls, it opens up everything inside for Brady. But Brady is the GOAT, and he was able to adjust and attack the seam routes as well when he realized they were playing the outside really well. Ryan Succop 4 for 4. He might be, outside of Brady, he might be our best offseason pickup. With as bad as we've been with kicking field goals for the last 10 years since Matt Bryant, really, he's been, I think he's 17 of 18 or 16 of 18. I think he's only missed 1 or 2 field goals the entire season, which is amazing. He's been a real asset to us, and I don't have anxiety anymore when he kicks. He's drilling every kick right down the middle of the post as well. So like, starting to feel good every time we go for a kick. It's not like a wasted, like, oh, here we go, it's gonna miss and we lost 3 points. So great on that part. On the defensive side, we held Danny Dimes 25 completions of 41 attempts, 256 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They were killing us with the up-tempo offense. They were killing us with the short out routes and things like that. Deep balls, luckily, Jamel Dean got burned a couple of times by Slayton, and one of the picks that Danny Dimes threw, which was to Carlton Davis, was Slayton had dominated and completely beat Dean on the double move and would have been a for sure touchdown. And the other times that receivers did get open deep, Danny Dimes was just out overthrowing them, throwing it to the outside instead of the inside, and just not very accurate as well. So we kind of we lucked out on that. And then the 2 interceptions were him just not wanting to take sacks and like getting hit and throwing it. So like I said, Carlton Davis had a pick, which now ties him for the NFL lead with 4 on the season. I keep saying he's an elite shutdown corner, but the NFL doesn't recognize people as shutdown corners unless they can get picks. So if he stays within 1 or 2 of the lead, second, third place at minimum, worst case third place, he would be seen as an elite corner. The other one was Sean Murphy Bunting on a beautiful diving pick when Danny Dimes was getting hit, literally going down to the ground as he threw it. And then on our defensive front, JPP, Devin White, and Sue each had 1 sack. JPP had one when Daniel Jones was trying to scramble and he kind of just caught him. Devin White had a clean one and Sue did as well. Their leading rusher was Gallman, 12 carries for 44 yards. The average is a little bit higher than what we've given up, but still a great performance. I think we've held him under 70, 80 yards total rushing as well. Sterling Shepard, 8 catches for 74 yards. Evan Ingram, 5 for 61. And Darius Slayton, 5 for 56. They were getting kind of open. Like I said, a lot of the short routes, some slants and things like that. We weren't that aggressive, and I think it was because they were playing up-tempo. So we couldn't substitute and get into the packages we need, so we couldn't be as aggressive. And I think that's why corners were playing a lot of off coverage, similar to the Bears game. And they weren't blitzing as much. But when they were blitzing, they were getting there and pressuring Daniel Jones. So, yeah, but a cool stat that I like, the Bucs are 22 for 22 in goal-to-go situations. We've scored touchdowns 22 times that we've gone inside of the 10. Even times where, in the beginning of the season, where we've had penalties that take us out. I think one time we had a 2nd and goal or 3rd and goal from the 20-yard line, and we still converted. So that's a crazy stat. I heard on the actual game that was like an NFL record or something. They've only been keeping track of that record since 2000. So there's not a huge, 20 years is a huge sample size, but compared to the 100 years of the NFL, we're like number 1, which is crazy to think that like every time we get inside the 10, it's a for sure score, which talks about how Brady's really good at identifying who's open, spreading the ball out. Like today, I think he spread it to 8 different receivers, and all of them caught at least 2 catches, and I think I read 5 of them caught at least 15-yard passes. So Brady's there to spread the ball out. Next week, though, Antonio Brown is supposed to be playing. I think he can start practicing on Wednesday. I read that he's been staying with Brady at his house and like really diving into the playbook. So hopefully when he comes in, that chemistry's kind of there. I know Brady said they both had chemistry last year when he came for less than 2 weeks to the Patriots. Hopefully that carries over with the playbook. Next week is the biggest game of the season. Week 9, Sunday Night Football at home against the New Orleans Saints for the division. We're currently 6-2. They're 5-2. We're a half game above them. but they do have the tiebreaker currently. If we do beat them, we will be 7-2 and they will be 5-3. We will be a full game ahead of them with a kind of easier schedule coming up. After that, we play the Panthers in Carolina. Should be a win. We home against the Los Angeles Rams, Monday Night Football. Not worried. They're 4-0 against NFC East teams, and they're like 1-4 against everybody else, or 1-3 against everybody else. They're not playing that well. Then the Chiefs game. So that's the next 3 games after the Saints. And then I think after that we have a bye week, and then our final 4 games are Vikings, Lions, and 2 Falcons games, which should be easier wins. So if we can take care of the Saints, we are in the driver's seat, and I don't see a chance where the Saints can really beat us unless we crumble, or pass us in the standings unless we crumble. So yeah, great performance. Not great performance. Wasn't that great of a performance, but good teams figure out how to win bad games. They learn how to pull it off. If this was the Bucs of any other year besides this year, we probably would have lost it. I mean, we lost it last year to the Giants when we were up 28-3 or 28-10 or something like that. We choked it out. So this one got close. Antoine Winfield, people are saying he got away with a pass interference. Depending on the angle you see, the ball hit his elbow. It looked like hit his elbow right as he hit the defender. Either way, some calls go your way, some don't. We had a couple go against us as well. So, like, I try not to complain about 1 or 2 calls that are bad against us, because they usually balance out. We get a call, they get a call. Throughout the season, it balances out. So, not too mad about it, but it was, made me really nervous. I was like, this is one of those games, way more stressful than it needs to be. But good teams pull it out. And I think when we play the Saints next week, we're not going to be as sloppy. Home game, fans will be there. It's going to be rocking. Saints coming in, trying to prove something. I think Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders will be back. Not 100% sure. I'm fine. We need to be aggressive. Breeze is not throwing the ball past 10 yards. We can be aggressive. We don't have to worry about them killing us over the top. And I think we can pull it off. I think we can actually dominate them and beat them by 2 to 3 scores. But we'll see. This is getting really long. And yeah, thank you, Bucs Nation, for tuning in. If you are new here again, make sure you click the subscribe button. And let's go 6-2 to start out the season. First time in 18 years. Let's go. And yeah, I'll catch y'all next week after the Saints win. And as usual, I am out.
Our offense tough, our defense rough. Go Bucs, go Bucs. Ain't no other team stopping us. Go Bucs, go Bucs.